to Take Flight Live with Phoenix Stage Company, an award-winning 100% volunteer community theater located in Oakville, Connecticut. I'm Ed Bassett, Executive Director of Phoenix Stage Company, and your host here with Tim Phillips. Hello, Tim. Say hello.
Hello.
It's a little cold, isn't it?
I feel like Bernie Sanders.
But you don't have the right gloves
I know,
on.
I forgot. I should have brought the right clothes.
It's a little cold. When I came into the theater, we're filming this on Sunday.
Yes.
Because, again, Michael is not available. However, we have a new picture apropos for our topic today. But the furnace had failed about 2 hours before I came in.
Yes.
It had tripped, and so it was 42 degrees when I walked into the building this morning. It was cold, and it's still cold.
It's still pretty cold.
Because I didn't get here till about 1:15, 1:30, somewhere in there. So it's around 3 o'clock now, and it's very cold in the building. So thank you, Tim, for enduring the Arctic weather in the theater.
I am in layers today.
Yeah, and
so you know.
also in the room is Al Hathaway. Say hello, Al.
Hi.
There you go. Thank you. See, he listens. He's so good.
That's great. That's
He's
nice.
so good. It's rather chilly, but I have a joke that might warm you up, Tim.
Oh, I'm so excited.
This joke comes to us from the home of Debbie Cryan.
Oh.
She sent me this joke.
She did.
What did the baby shrimp say when he was caught not sharing?
I don't know. What did the baby shrimp say, whatever, when he was not sharing?
I can't help it. I'm a little shellfish. A little shellfish. So that was for Deb Cryan, and I just checked it off, Deb, so you're good to go.
When do we get to be a jumbo shrimp?
Yeah, so your week.
My week. What a week it's been.
Really, yeah, it has, actually.
There's been a lot going on. My brother lives in Houston.
Oh, in Texas, yeah.
Yeah, so they went through all that craziness there where the power was on, it was off, it was on, it was off, then it was water was on, his water was off. Last I checked, he was doing okay. Then we got
Bad
through it.
situation, but hopefully we learn from our own experiences. We also have to learn from other people's experiences.
Yeah.
Be prepared. You need to have a few cases of water in your house. You need to have a couple of gallons of water, things like that, to be prepared. We don't know if this stuff will happen to us. We don't know if we'll be out of power. Now, we live in New England, and most of us are already prepared with batteries in our house and flashlights and all of that stuff.
We know when a good storm
But hopefully other people learn from these other experiences and know we don't necessarily have to wait for a storm.
Well,
the power can just go out, right?
I always feel bad for people like that.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, they're trying to do,
Absolutely.
so many people open up their taps, right?
Yeah.
To drip the water.
Right.
That caused the water pressure to go way down.
Yeah.
You know, they were just trying to do the right thing.
I absolutely get it.
Yeah.
I absolutely get it.
It really does show that it's a new world as far as the climate
And if
goes.
there was, I have to say, if this was a better time for us in Phoenix Stage Company, we would be doing a fundraiser.
Oh, yeah.
To support the cause, to help people in Texas go through this. We would definitely be doing that, but we're in a position ourselves where that's not possible for us right now. So I'm sure that there are links available out there for folks to individually be able to help the people in Texas, and I hope that your brother.
Yeah, he's doing okay. And what was really good is my whole family really kind of, what can we do?
Yeah.
How can we help?
Right.
I said, you want me to send some water down? I'll probably be frozen by the time I get down there.
Yeah.
The big news of the week is the Mars lander. The Mars
Right?
rover.
Like, I watched that, and Al and I were just talking about it in the office before you arrived. I'm just amazed that people can come up with that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, how do you program this thing? It's a capsule that goes through an atmosphere that,
and
then at this
parachute.
moment, like she says, and now the shield will pop away, and poof, it pops away, and then a crane comes out, a flying crane that lowers this,
rover, right?
car down to the planet, and then the car cuts the wires, and this crane flies away knowing it's going to crash.
And now they got...
It's going to crash, and now this rover's out there.
Yeah.
It amazes me. It amazes me.
The guy I watched the feed from NASA.
Yeah, me too.
Totally wrapped by it. And the guy kept saying, there's 100,000 things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
and we need everything to go right, and everything went right.
It's amazing to me.
It
And
was
then
so
later that night, I watched a documentary on how they made the rover.
Oh, okay.
And watching these flight technicians
Yeah.
that put this thing together. And, one of the technicians, he used to work in a bike shop.
Yeah.
And he said, I came from this environment where I had grease under my fingernails and my hands were dirty because I was working on bikes. So now I'm working in a sterile environment. And I spend a day putting in 6 screws, and I go home and I'm exhausted because the attention that's required to put those screws in, because they have to, they go straight in, they put the screw in until the perfect tension, and then they have to come straight out and not hit anything else. I can't, that stress, but the brilliance of designing this thing, they showed piles of old wheels that they had designed. They test the wheel until they get the right design.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that we can do that. So let's beat this virus.
Yeah.
We can create things like that. So let's beat this virus.
Well, it goes back to the '60s, which was prime time for NASA. The race to the moon.
Yeah.
And the ingenuity that was needed to develop. I don't know if you ever seen the HBO series From the Earth to the Moon.
I have, yes.
Talking about how to build the lunar module.
Well, they went from an empty room to a control, because there's also the documentary called Control Room.
Right.
And they talk about the fact that they didn't have this technology when Kennedy said we're going to go to the moon.
Right.
They didn't have the technology, so they had to create a room of computers and people to do it.
Yeah.
And they just launched the Katherine Johnson rocket was launched into space, and that was named after the mathematician and physicist who was, the movie Hidden Figures was about her.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Again, those are minds that I can't fathom that. I don't have that in my head.
Well, no, we're wired differently. And I'm willing to bet that they would say that the craziness that we come up with is beyond them too. They're wired for, like Al, like an engineer. They're wired. Engineers are wired differently, right, Al?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what they are.
Yeah.
Math, stuff like that. But I was so thrilled to see that they named that rocket yesterday after her.
Yeah.
Because it was such a brilliantly done movie.
Another woman was honored this last week. So we filmed our last podcast last Sunday. We filmed the Gal Pal show. Monday, Laurie Poulin and myself drove down to Easton to be part of a birthday parade for our very good friend, audience member, Ann Fielka.
Yeah.
She turned 100 years old on Monday.
God bless her.
She flew with Amelia Earhart when she was a teenager. Mm-hmm. What a powerhouse. There were 100 cars in the parade.
Well, there should be.
There was a fire engine, 2 ambulances, a medic's car, a bunch of police cars. And, people were stopping and handing cards and balloons and plants and things out.
So was she just...
She was in a convertible because just a short time ago she fell, broke her hip.
Oh, no.
100 years old, and she was out of rehab in 2 weeks.
Oh, my God.
And home. What? Right? And so they put her in a VW Bug convertible.
Oh, okay.
And she was angled. They closed the road down.
Right.
She was angled facing the parade as it was coming to her, and people would stop and say happy birthday to her.
Oh,
the first selectman of Easton made it Ann Fielka Day.
Nice.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was on NBC News. Laurie Poulin contacted her son, Spencer, who is a director at NBC.
Right. Yeah.
And he mentioned it, and I can't say he pulled strings because he says he doesn't have that power, which I think he does. But it's just,
Well, he put the offer up.
And they came out and did a filming of it.
Oh,
it was
awesome.
It was great fun, and what a wonderful lady. And then Laurie and I, now you just don't go anywhere, right? And we're down in Easton, and we're like, we're hungry. Like, we're gonna find some place.
Good luck.
We found a wonderful place in Reading called the Black Cat Cafe, or the Black Cat Grill.
There's not that much out there.
No, there's not. And we weren't sure if they were going to be open and how they handled things. Mm-hmm. We went in. Everyone was masked. They handled it beautifully. We were like far away from anybody else. Yeah. And I had a burger. I haven't had a burger in over 2 months, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great. The food was really good.
Okay.
The food was really good. It was really affordable. The bathrooms were cold, but they were very nice.
So
and
were
they,
these.
they handled everything very, very well.
Yeah.
So we felt very safe being there.
Oh, that's good.
In the restaurant and eating, and then we were able to come home.
You talk about Anne getting out of rehab in 2 weeks.
At 100 years old.
I'm 37 years younger than that, and I was exhausted after just cleaning the driveway yesterday.
Oh, and now we have more weather coming tomorrow.
Yeah, but not much.
Last week was really confusing for me
It's
because we were expecting bad weather, and so I was all hunkered in, and we were ready to just.
It snowed all day, and we got 2 inches.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
I was like, do I
Every
go
time I
out
look-
now and shovel? Do I
Yeah.
not go out now? Like,
Yeah.
what is it going to really open up?
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Right.
So we have some birthdays.
Yes, we do. And of course, we're up live again. Oh, not live. We're up on Thursday night,
Yes, we are.
as our usual, which was fun. By the way, again, last Thursday, watching the show.
It was.
I don't get to watch it. You don't get to watch it.
I don't watch it generally, but I did, and unfortunately, my chat section froze a few times.
Oh, okay.
And so I didn't get to,
Yeah.
talk to a lot of people. But yeah, it was good.
It was fun watching what people were talking about and getting in there. Of course, Laurie and I use the same IG, so every time she writes
Well,
out,
in
like,
parentheses, it would say Laurie.
Yeah.
But birthdays.
Next Thursday, or this when this is aired,
This
25th,
Thursday.
John Cummings, our good friend John Cummings, will be celebrating his
He
birthday.
was on stage in Dial M for Murder.
You're right. I forgot about
Thompson,
that. Yeah.
the police officer who carried the purse.
Yep. And he's also taken care of us for a couple of events in Naugatuck.
He has, and
Yeah.
we're working together on a possible event coming up, a virtual tasting of some kind coming up again.
I could use
So
some virtually.
we're
stuff right
working
now.
on that.
Yes, and then tomorrow, Friday,
Friday, the
26th,
26th.
Becky Venable.
Becky Venable.
Becky's
Now,
been in several
she's
shows.
been in several shows. I
Yeah.
think Becky's first show with us was Crimes of the Heart. I think. I'm looking at the lists
Yeah.
of where we are, and
Well, she was in our first one here.
but I think down in Naugatuck, I know she was in Crimes of the Heart.
Yeah.
She was also in A Dark and Stormy Night.
Oh, you're right,
She was in a
yeah.
bunch of things, but I think her first one with us
Yeah.
was Crimes of the Heart,
Yeah.
and that was in
And
2014.
of course, almost May. She was at the last show we did, which was a year ago, right now.
A year ago now,
Yeah.
Drinking Habit.
Yeah,
And she's
Drinking
stage managed, and she's done props, and she's
Yeah.
done all kinds of stuff for us. So
Yeah.
happy birthday,
Happy
Becky
Becky.
Venable.
Yes.
Happy birthday, John Cummings.
Yeah.
At the time of our podcast, we didn't know that Monday, the 22nd of February, is Dr. Mike Elser's birthday. Happy birthday, Dr. Mike.
So what are we talking about today, Tim?
We're talking about humor and comedy.
Humor! Speaking of that, I have a joke for you.
I knew this was going to happen. Just so you know, I knew this was going to happen today.
What do you call it when one cow spies on another?
I don't know. What do you call when one cow spies on another?
A stakeout. Our guest is laughing behind me. She'll never admit it, but she's laughing.
Yeah, I can hear it.
I just finished writing a book.
Did you?
Yeah.
What kind of art?
It's on reverse psychology. Don't read it. So we're talking today about what makes a comedy.
I have to tell you, I talked to my brother Bruce during this whole COVID, Houston stuff. He wanted to find out what was going on with John.
Yeah.
So I talked to Bruce, and it was after Thursday. It was Friday, and he said, about those jokes. I said, you're suffering with me.
I love my jokes. They think that they're really bad. And that's what makes them funny for me.
But you're lucky because he watches it on his big TV.
It's what makes comedy is subjective.
It certainly is. It is more than anything else. It is. So what's funny to one person may not be as funny to the other person.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So we have someone here that I think fits perfectly with this conversation.
Yes.
Because she has such a juxtaposed opinion on comedy from my own.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so
yet you had her as your stage manager.
I
Yeah.
have. And so with us today to talk about what makes a comedy, our volunteer coordinator and Tim's wife, Laurie Phillips. Come on over, Laurie. Bring your beverage. Come on over.
Thunderous applause. Giving us,
Laurie's here.
Look, no mask.
Yeah.
I know.
Laurie's had her first vaccination.
Yes, she
I
has.
have. Mm-hmm.
How do you feel?
I'm fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, my sister gets hers this coming Wednesday. So yesterday, you'll be watching this on Thursday. So yesterday she had her first.
Her
so-
first shot.
Yeah,
Okay.
her first.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so
And Al's getting his.
Al's getting his coming up soon.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Wow.
So this coming Tuesday, so 2 days ago from when you're watching it, Al had his vaccination.
We're VIPs.
Yes.
Vaccine inoculated people.
Oh,
It just means they're old.
yeah. Well,
That too.
So
But
how are
anyway.
you, Laurie?
Okay, I haven't seen you in a long time.
I know, right? So Laurie, I'm just going to ask you, what makes a comedy for you?
what makes you laugh?
What makes a comedy?
You know, I really hate to admit this, but sometimes I laugh at your jokes. I hate to admit that though.
That
Yeah.
encourages him.
I know.
Just so you know.
Yeah, I love my
I
jokes.
know.
Yeah, but is there a specific formula for you, or is it hit or miss?
I think it's the subtle stuff. I don't go for the crazy knockdown, drag out stuff, but I mean, like the Foreigner,
Yeah.
when he says 2 syllables, 2 parts,
Faux work.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's funny for you.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And my opinion has always been, if it's funny once, it's funny every time.
And that drives me crazy.
Because I can see a show 10 times.
Yeah.
And if something is funny the first time and they deliver it the same way, I laugh just
And
as
yet,
much.
don't you think that can be affected by the energy of the audience?
Oh, absolutely.
If the audience's energy is different, the performance is different.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that affects the delivery of the joke. See, I like things that are carried through the show. I love a repetitive gag.
A running gag.
A running gag
Yeah.
through the show,
Right.
I think, is hysterical.
Yes.
And so, like when we did Pink Panther, there were running gags in there that were just funny because it gets to the point where the audience almost expects it.
Yeah.
Almost. And so sometimes they start laughing before it happens.
Every set change, there were.
Yeah. So there's a running. I like a running gag.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love fart humor.
Yes.
Really?
I really do.
Shocker!
And I think
Spoiler.
that, and I
Spoiler.
also, as a producer, as an actor, as an observer, I love to see the audience's reactions.
Yes.
And so when I wrote Neverland Christmas, and I was in the office and I was laughing while I was writing it,
Oh, that's
and
always
pushed
a
it,
good sign.
I pushed it across the desk at Laurie Poulin and said, "Read this." And she read it and she put it down. I said, "What do you think?" She goes, "Well, it's funny if you're an 8-year-old." And I said, "Okay." So when the show happened, and that fart scene where Smee had the elf over his shoulder
Yes.
and he was farting peppermint across the stage, the audience's reaction, the kids and the dads. The kids and the dads in the audience were just beside, and I
Because
love
there's
that.
really not much difference between a kid and a dad.
No,
Exactly.
Especially when it
I
comes to
love
fart
I
humor.
love that reaction that you can get. So
Yeah.
as a performer, as a writer, as a director,
Yeah.
seeing the audience enjoy what you've done, that's
Oh, it's
it's golden for me.
When I wrote a play a long time ago, it's never been produced here. It's called KH is Coming to Dinner, and we did it as a fundraiser for my church. And that first opening night, I remember hiding upstairs and kind of listening to the play. And when it got to the first laugh line and the audience laughed,
Yeah.
it was like the greatest gift you could
Right,
ever
it-
give.
it really
was
is.
so gratifying to hear a laugh.
Yeah.
Concurrently, and I'm sure this has happened to you, you write something you think is funny, and then you test it out in the audience, and it goes flat.
Flat. Well, there are
That's when you
lines.
learn.
There are lines that have been in shows that we've done that we think are hysterical,
Yes.
and it's I mean, the biggest example is me and Laurie pulling in the sound tent in Naugatuck while Amanda Bunting stands on the end of the stage and yells out,
You down!
You down! You put that down, mister! You got the diabetes! Every cookie you eat's gonna cost you another toe!"
Hysterical.
Crickets.
Yeah.
We would be in the booth laughing
Yeah.
and crickets.
Yeah. And
Diabetes isn't funny, Laurie.
Some people don't think so now, honey.
But it was the delivery of it. And it was.
the whole context
Would you
around
really
it.
yell that to somebody at a family reunion?
Oh, I
My
would.
family?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the diabetes.
Her family
Every
is-
cookie you eat's gonna cost you.
Your family's
so.
where you get most of your
Oh, my family's bad, yeah.
humor.
So
But so do I.
the one thing I can tell you that I don't find funny,
Yeah.
and that is someone trying to be funny.
Yes.
I always say to my casts when I'm directing, let the funny be funny.
Yep.
Don't force the funny.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't work. It doesn't. An audience can tell when you're trying too hard.
Yes.
And your material has to work itself.
Yeah.
Let it happen.
Mhm.
Don't overwork it.
Yeah.
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 I think some shows are written funny, like The Foreigner, but I've seen The Foreigner done sometimes when it wasn't funny because the timing was off or it was just not right.
And there are some shows that you read them and they read awful, but when you put them on the stage with actors,
Yes.
they're funny.
There's been a lot of those here.
Yeah.
There've been you read it, you've got to see the potential in it, you've got to put the right people in the cast
Yeah.
who can play off each other.
I remember reading, before we had the table read for the first Drinking Habits, I read the script. I'm like, I'm not getting this. I'm not getting this at all. But whatever. And then we went to the table read and we read it out loud and with the other people laughing. And that was Colleen and Chrissy Evans and Colleen Renzullo and a bunch of other people, Brian Elser, and we were hysterical. It needs some things really need the audience to really get it on its feet. And I think that was the case. We've had that. Like you said, we've had that for a couple of different shows.
And then there's the evolution of the comedy.
Yes.
And the perfect example of that is Every Christmas Story Ever Told.
Yeah.
I play the straight man,
Right.
where my funny has to be the looks in my face.
Mm-hmm.
My non-reaction to what the other guys are doing
Right.
is the funny. And they always try to crack me up, which they are very successful. There's 2 times in the show that no matter how hard I try,
Yeah.
but they are brilliant performers.
But their comedy.
They adapted that show,
Yeah.
and it adapts every performance to what's happening in the audience.
Yes.
And they play off of each other.
Yep.
And you would think it's planned, and it's not.
No,
it is.
no,
It happens
really
on the
not.
fly. Totally depends on what's going on in the
We
audience.
always tell people that if they were to read the script of that show, they would be shocked.
Yeah.
Because it is the kind of show that allows for invention.
Yeah.
My point being that if you were not the straight man in that thing, what they would do would fall flat. If everybody had to be the banana, the funny person, it wouldn't work as well.
No, you have to have
You
that.
really gotta have
you
the
have
yin
to
and
have
yang of the
that
whole
pin.
thing. Yeah.
That is that's standing there,
Mhm.
and I mean, I enjoy the moments when I'm allowed to be funny.
Yeah.
Iceland,
Iceland. Yeah.
and that was an invention
Yeah.
that just came out of the music. We found the music and said, "Oh, he's got to be dancing around."
But one of the things that became funny about that show is it's an inside joke to the audience now when you say Marley was dead.
Yes.
It's an the audience thinks that's funny now.
And it carries through.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
carries through.
But this goes to my point that if something is funny, it remains funny no matter how many times you see it, because how many people have come back over the years to see the show? But it is a different show.
But if it's the first time that you're seeing the show,
Yeah.
you're not going to understand why people are laughing when I come out and say Marley was dead to
Right,
begin with.
right.
Because at the first time we did the show, that didn't get a laugh.
No.
Marley
It
was
no,
dead. to
it's
begin with.
it's an inside joke now with our
And
audience.
now
Yeah.
everybody,
Right.
You can be stopped in the supermarket and people say Marley was dead.
you've been with me.
Yeah.
We were at where were we? We were at
I
some
remember.
flea market or something,
Yeah.
and some guy walked up to me and said, "Oh, we went to see another show. We
Yeah.
were at the Thomaston Opera House."
Okay.
And some guy in the audience walked up and went, "Marley was dead." And I had no idea who he was. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
So
There's worse things to be recognized for.
absolutely, absolutely there is. So you asked some people on Facebook.
I did, and there's a lot of similarities to some of the things. Tony Benedetti, for instance, also talked about The Foreigner, which I still think was one of the funniest plays I have ever seen, in almost every performance, every production of it. Another one that was mentioned more than once was Lending a Tenor, which I have never seen.
They did it at Goshen.
Yeah.
We have not done it here because it was done at Goshen. You know, it was something that was
Not
on a
too
short
long
list
ago,
for
yeah,
us.
yeah.
They had to remove some scenes. There was some blackface in that originally, and there was some
my.
stuff. So it's been adapted now and
Yeah.
changed to
Yeah.
what's going on.
Colleen put it best though. It's funny is when you're not. It's best when you're not trying not to be funny. When, like you said, when you let the script and let the audience
Let the
your
funny
cast-
be funny.
Let the funny be funny.
Let it evolve and let your reactions as an actor be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Don't force them.
Lucia Dressel talks about Sweet Surrender, and I think that was probably one of the funniest shows. That was in Naugatuck, and that it's the chemistry of the cast.
Yeah.
And you had people that were working together that were hilarious to work with each other, and somebody like Lyle being so subtle with everything. Preston dropping the dog out the window. Oh,
Yeah, poor Mr. Boodles.
Mr. Boodles.
Mr. Boodles
And of
went
course,
out the window.
Lucia, and oh golly,
Lauren.
Lauren Wolf, as you know.
And John Fabiani,
Yes.
opposite Josh Luzak's character.
Yes. Helen Adams talks about anything by Moss and Hart. They do a lot of stuff, and theirs is a lot of wordplay, and that I can understand. Tori, she says she talks about this all the time with Rob. No surprise, because they're two of the funniest people on stage,
And yet,
they both love drama.
right. They understand timing.
Timing is everything.
Timing is everything.
Timing.
She also, Tori did say that the longest she ever had to hold on out for a laugh on stage was during Kung Foolery.
Kung Foolery, funniest one act
Yeah.
ever.
Brett Hersey.
Written by Brett Hersey.
Yep.
It's been done twice in our writing festivals, and they are brilliant together in that.
Yeah.
Brilliant
Yes,
together
they
in
are.
that.
She said, and this is a good point that Tori makes, if you watch Golden Girls, right, the classic TV show, it is wildly funny, but the actual script is very predictable, and the jokes are nothing incredible. It's just the way those four women work together to expand on what was written on the page.
Because the character of Rose,
Yeah.
played by Betty White, is played so honestly,
Yes.
and it's the straight man of Dorothy.
Yeah.
I like the Dorothy person.
She was the straight man who would give that look,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
and
Everybody else played off.
all of that.
Yeah.
All of that.
Sure.
She just also said the funniest play that she was in was Arsenic and Old Lace. And the funniest one she ever saw was The Play That Goes Wrong, which the three of us saw on Broadway.
Yeah.
And I was I was in stitches by the end of that.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of play that you guys like, and it's like.
I think that's
That's
an
all right.
actor's show.
It is an actor show, a director show, because
Yeah.
we've been in a situation where
Yeah.
things have gone wrong.
Yeah,
And some of it was way over the top.
it really was.
Some of it was way over the top. Do you have a funniest show ever? Like a show that you think is in
Here's
the
a
top?
question about that question.
Yeah.
A question about a question. Is the funniest show ever the one that you saw once and said that is the funny show, or is it the funniest show that you could see over and over again? Is funny something that happens at one time, or is it something funny because
It's unexpected.
So
I like the unexpected humor.
Okay,
humor. Yeah.
yeah.
The stuff that, oh my God, where'd that come from? Yeah. But I like The Foreigner. I think that's probably one of my favorite funny shows.
Yeah.
I got mentioned a couple times. Noises Off is a very funny show.
Noises Off is great. Timing.
Yeah.
Timing.
And a big stage.
Yeah, it's all about the timing. Al,
Yeah.
funniest show? Any ideas?
I mean, there are several that stick in my mind, like Sweet Surrender that we were just talking about.
Yep.
That comes up on a lot of people's lists.
I believe it.
And you know, it's really interesting. I was in the show.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot about it.
I remember everybody remembers the dog.
The dog. And I loved being in that show, and I loved all of those people. We had a very good time, and we were a very bonded cast.
Yeah.
But it's one of those shows that just kind of went in, you know.
Well, I noticed that Emily mentioned You're in Town.
I was going to say, for musicals,
And
that's one of the
I think
funniest.
That's one of the funnier.
Again, though,
musicals.
that is also an actor's show. There's
It
a
is an
lot
actor's
of-
show. It's not my bag.
Yeah.
Why?
If I had to pick a show kind of that genre,
Yeah.
Reefer Madness would be the
Okay.
one that I
Which I've
would
never seen.
go into.
Yeah.
It's similar to A Urinetown.
Yeah.
It's a musical based on the old black and white
Yeah.
mornings about Reefer.
Now, last night we were talking about Drowsy Chaperone, which also to me is a knockdown, drag down comedy of comedies.
Sure it is.
But what is the comedy in that show? Is it because it's the 1920s show? Is that the funny part? Or is it the man in chair's reactions to everything that makes it funny? I think it's both.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to say what makes that show funny.
But it is.
Again, I think it's the relationship between the man in the chair and the characters.
Yeah.
And his reactions to it, the timing,
right.
but also the caricatures
Yeah.
that came out of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
That came out of those.
And the relationship that the man in chair has with the audience.
I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that a pilot shows up.
Well, yeah.
A pilot just, you know,
Yeah.
lands a, you know, but it's a great show.
It is.
It is a very, very
Part
good
that
show.
the part that Jane did in
Mrs.
Your
Totten-
Drowsy Chaperone.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Tottendale.
Mrs.
I mean,
Tottendale.
That's a funny.
And
Yeah.
opposite the butler, who is the straight man, who is very funny.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Funny.
But they were you know, if you know that show, they were a comedy duo from vaudeville. And that's what, you know, you had, and your Burns and Allen kind of thing. You always had the straight person and the funny person.
Yeah.
I was telling Laurie on the way in, I asked for people's, I put this out today, and I got so many responses compared to asking them for romance. I guess we know funny people more than we know romantics, I guess.
And speaking of funny people,
Oh no, we're not funny people.
hey Tim,
Why are you asking me?
what did Batman say to Robin before they got into the car?
I don't know, what did Batman say to Robin before they got the car?
Robin, get in the car.
How is that
Because it's obvious. It's like.
funny? I didn't want to hit you.
Who's encouraging this?
I'm known for jokes. Okay.
Why did the Scarecrow win an award?
Why?
Because he was outstanding in his field.
Okay. So back to real comedy. Chuck Sango also mentioned, besides those other plays we've mentioned before, I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change, which I think is a musical?
It is a musical.
Yeah.
It is.
And that's another one of those ones.
Now, I have to tell you that Chuck, for me, Chuck Stango,
Yes.
he is funny standing in the middle of the stage.
Yeah.
Like, he has the ability to
Yeah.
take nothing and
Yeah.
make it funny.
Yeah.
He creates a character and stays with that character.
Yeah.
And he's consistent with it. I have to say that.
That's Grandma's boyfriend.
Sorry?
That's Grandma's boyfriend.
Yes, Grandma's boyfriend.
Oh,
she
okay.
she loves Chuck Stango.
So Chuck, he did The Foreigner here.
Yeah.
And he did Neverland Christmas, which
Neverland Christmas.
he liked being a sidekick to Ian.
Yeah, they played very well off of
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
You know, I know that neither of those gentlemen knew what they were getting into when I asked them to do Neverland Christmas.
Right.
They had no idea what they were getting into.
And they've done it twice.
And yet they took it and they made it.
Yeah.
They made it. And with working with Lucia Dressel on their songs
Mm-hmm.
and the blocking that she did with them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a playwright's dream, to take something that you put on a page and make it happen. And again, half the stuff they came up with was not in the script the first time.
What a surprise!
The second time, I was able to take a lot of the stuff that they added in the first time that was so funny and throw it in there. Brain pictures and eat your vegetables and
Yeah.
all of that stuff that they say. He's one of my favorite comedic actors to work with.
Yeah.
Because he has that ability to make nothing funny.
Yeah.
And just
Sometimes
being there, and that
is-
was The Foreigner,
Yeah.
sitting on that couch, listening to conversations and making it funny.
Right.
Because it was the non-reaction
Yeah.
that made it funny.
Again, it's such a well-written show. A point that was brought up by our old friend Matt Cornish. Comedy at the expense of the powerless or oppressed is never funny. That is very true.
Yeah.
So
bully comedy.
Yeah, bully comedy.
Yeah, you don't laugh at somebody else.
I
You
always-
laugh at yourself.
Self-deprecating comedy.
That's
You
fun.
can laugh at yourself.
Right.
And that's the kind of comedy I like writing.
Right.
You like writing that too. I think that lends itself to you're better coming up with wacky ideas. What if? And then, what if this happened? And then there you go. I think both of those are the unexpected,
Right.
the unanticipated, or the self-deprecating comedy.
So, in that vein,
Yeah.
comedy at the expense of the oppressed or that oppresses others.
Yeah.
There are shows from our history that have caricatures of people
Yeah.
that today would be offensive.
Mhm.
So Asian characters
Correct. Right.
being in that. The Butler did it,
Yeah.
and we did Louis Fan. Rob played Louis Fan. We were people playing those characters. We weren't really those people as it came out in the end of the play. So my question is, are those shows now going to be relegated to the history books and you're not able to do them at risk of offending a class of people? Or are you allowed to do them and with the understanding that you're performing the play and using the caricatures and you're not trying to belittle?
Now,
like, what do you do? How do you
Yeah.
handle that?
Well, there's a line, and it's hard to say where that line is.
Yeah.
Now, Louis Fan, in that case, excuse me, was a caricature of Charlie Chan,
Right.
which, if I remember right, was just a regular American actor that played it.
And they used scotch tape on his eyelids.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then put makeup
And that's been done.
over the scotch
So,
tape.
I mean, things that were that we could get away with in the 60s and 70s, I doubt we can do that anymore.
Right.
We were talking just now about
So are those pieces then relegated to the history books?
I don't think they're
And how do you handle it? That's as a producer, I'm really curious about this.
Yeah.
And I would love to start a dialogue. So if you're watching this tonight, in the chat, talk about this.
Yeah.
How do you handle this?
Right.
What's the best way to handle? Because some of these plays are brilliant.
Yeah.
They were not meant to be oppressive humor, but it's the way that they were written. And this is something. Last week we talked about the fact that we hadn't done any shows with lesbian characters in it, and I want to kind of expound on that. It's because what the shows that are being submitted to us that have LGBTQ characters in them, they are caricatures
Right.
of those individuals,
Yeah.
and so that it is deprecating humor. It is a humor. And for me, the gay characters, like in The Producers,
Right.
Springtime for Hitler.
Right.
It's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny, but are some people going to find that offensive? And so there's that line that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's offensive
Yeah.
and what's funny, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
And that line is just so thin
It
right
is
now.
so
So
thin.
that-
right
and
now.
So
it's blurred.
thin.
It's
Yeah.
blurred because and it's changing.
It's moving.
Right.
It's a moving
And
target.
it's a moving line. You bring up The Producers. That can still work today because it's a caricature of Nazi Germany. It's not a caricature of Nazi. It's
Yeah, I know what you
it's
mean.
a satire.
It is a satire. So if a play is a satire, is it all right to do
Yeah.
those caricatures of different racial
Again,
groups?
it's how you handle
Because
it.
you would never, in this day, ever consider doing blackface on stage.
Well, here's the thing. I was
Ever.
to go.
It's-
Mel
you
Brooks
can't
did The
go there.
Producers.
Yes.
Mel Brooks also did, we just talked about it, Blazing Saddles.
Yes.
And he is the first one to tell you that if he were to do Blazing Saddles now, either live play version of it or as a movie, no.
It couldn't be
Not
done.
a chance
It couldn't be
that.
done. It couldn't be
And
done.
yet, the people that watch the movie, it's one of my family's favorite. We know it line by line. It's still funny to us because of the time that we.
Well,
Because it's just so
because
stupid.
and
Yeah.
partially because in that movie the characters use self-deprecating humor.
Yes.
It wasn't one-sided humor.
It wasn't mean.
It was humor that they used.
It was meant to be mean. I mean, but it was meant to show meanness as a joke.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But
You know,
yeah, but he couldn't pull that
so
off.
so that's a really difficult spot to be in as a
Yeah.
producer when
Yeah. Yeah.
you're finding plays to do.
And that's going to be one of the things you look for when you're reading a script, right?
Absolutely, we do.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we do. Well, and because we get a lot of new plays handed to us.
Right.
A lot of, because we have our New Works project. And it is always concerning to me when I see a very large cast of any ethnic group.
Yeah.
Because if the playwright is writing that, it's important to
Yeah.
them.
Yes.
And for example, we got a play in that required a large Asian cast.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
We can't do
Yeah.
that. And I know that there's this thing right now, colorblind casting. But in my opinion, if a piece is written with a specific character
Yeah.
from a specific race or a specific religious group
For a
specific
reason.
it's written for a reason.
Yeah.
And you need
Yeah.
to really look at that. You
Right.
need to look at it.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to do the color purple with the.
And
Yeah.
it would be frowned upon. You
Yeah.
can't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But so for us, we're limited based on the demographic of actors. And I know some people say if you do the play, people will come. It's not always that way. It's
Yeah.
finding the right people to fill roles is
Right.
always a challenge. It's why Phoenix Stage Company doesn't do a lot of musical theater.
Right.
Because we have a base of actors that are non-musical theater performers. So we tend not to do musical theater.
Which is important because all the other, not all, but a lot of the other theaters in the area are more musical in mind.
Right.
And there weren't too many places. Clockwork, believe it or not, was one of those places that just did straight plays.
Right.
I hate to use that word again, but just normal play, non-musicals. And a lot of actors prefer to do straight plays or normal.
Absolutely.
Non-musicals.
Yeah, non-musicals.
Yeah. And
You know,
actually, one thing that-
so Drowsy Chaperone and Goshen.
Yes.
The opening scene of Act 2
Yes.
was the Nightingale,
Right.
the song of the Nightingale. That was it was a comedy because it was the wrong play.
It was the wrong
the wrong record was in the stereo,
Church,
and
yeah.
so these characters came out in their kimonos and little hats and everything,
Yeah.
and did the dance. We totally made sure that there was no fake Japanese or Chinese language being used. No, these were the actors from this show
Yeah.
who now were in these costumes playing these roles.
Right.
Because we didn't want it to be, as Matt says, deprecating humor,
Right.
of an oppressed group.
Well,
And
that's where you let just the costumes and the music take the audience to where they need to go with that. comedy.
Correct.
The actors don't have to go over the top with anything else
Right.
to get that sense across to the
Yeah.
actor. And that's what makes that brilliant as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. So that's the question of the day.
Yeah.
How do we now handle in these days, in this time, how do we handle those plays that were written historically
Yeah.
that have characters that could be offensive if they're not handled correctly? How do you handle that? Are those plays relegated to the history books? Or will theaters be able to do those plays again with some kind of a sensitivity?
Hey, so a quick bite into the podcast. Interestingly, after we recorded this episode, I went home to find a small article on my newsfeed about Disney Plus releasing The Muppet Show and their approach into how to cut out offensive material or material that today would be considered offensive. Interestingly, they've decided not to cut the material out, but instead to leave it there with a disclaimer in hopes that it will launch conversation about the topic. I really think that this is an interesting topic for us for the future on our podcast, culture portrayal on stage, and how to best approach that given today's political and cultural environment that we're in. So watch for more information on that podcast. I think it could be a really good topic of discussion.
Well, one of the things I wanted to was thinking about this is many plays are comedies or otherwise tend to get dated because they're written in a special time. You know, only a really small percentage of plays from the 20s and 30s and 40s have made it this far. Of course, we leave Shakespeare out because that's a whole different genre altogether.
Right.
So comedy also has changed a lot as time goes by. I read a play that my mother was in when she was in high school, and it was a comedy, but it was written in the 40s, and the comedy was all about what was going on in the world at the time. Didn't make any sense to me at all.
No, it wouldn't. Yeah.
And you know, I can't possibly go out with you girls today. I have to iron a dress for work tomorrow. Ha ha ha.
Nope.
Nope, doesn't work.
Yeah. So I mean, my point is, I don't think there's that many shows that are going to come up from the history piles and say, well, this is a great comedy, but it has this dated reference. So.
But it's true of all the plays. I mean, even something big like The King and I. Can you do it?
Yes, you can still do The King and I.
You know?
You can still do The King and I.
Right.
Because that absolutely they are not, those characters are not being laughed at, they're not being
Right.
you know, it's kind of a historical piece.
It is.
It's a historical piece. So many theaters won't do the carousel because it deals with domestic abuse.
Yeah,
Right.
it does.
And
Right.
because she says lines like, sometimes he hits me, but it
That's
feels
okay.
like love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which goes to your point.
Right, but it's a beautiful piece. It's
It
a
is.
beautifully written musical. And
Yeah.
so there are ways around that then.
Yeah.
If you're going to do shows like this, do you pair them up with some kind of a social message?
Right.
Do you pair them up with some kind of a responsible act that you do? I'm not sure. That's the kind
Fine
of
line.
position we're in.
Yeah.
So, potty humor, funny or no?
No.
Potty humor.
I don't care for it, but I'll do it.
Potty humor, Al, funny or no?
Usually funny.
Yeah, see, and I don't mind it at all.
It's a guy-girl thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, potty humor is definitely more towards the.
I mean, you know, I think it's hysterical to hear a toilet flush on stage at the right moment. It's just like that's the right moment, the right thing.
Well, yeah, that's a timing thing.
Fart sounds
If it's,
and the
if it's in part of the thing, but if you just add it just to add it,
Like you do?
no, I've never just added stuff to add it. It's my humor as far as fart sounds and things have always been used at a moment. They're at a moment.
that's the trouble. You're always right on those things.
It's a moment, and the audience always laughs.
They do. I know.
It's a moment.
All
you know,
right.
it's a thing. You know, and I know when enough is enough.
Yeah.
And there are shows that I have done that I have been dying to add something to, and I haven't. Because it doesn't always work. It doesn't always work.
Yeah.
Case in point, the search for the great cow oracle. Not a single fart, and there was a perfect time for one.
There was.
Yes. When Sweet Sally Saccharine got up off her stool and toddled off the stage. It would have been a perfect time.
Or when Casey bent over and
When Casey bent over and
What a
but what a butt.
What a butt.
He said that word.
No, he didn't. You
I'm
didn't
talking
hear that
about the
right.
donkey that was.
He said, "What a lass."
What a lass! Speaking of lass,
Okay. A lass and a lack.
yeah. Why do you tell actors to break a leg?
Well, I don't know. Why do you tell actors to break a leg?
Because every show has a cast.
Yeah.
We did a very long time.
It's a good thing he's adding the soundtrack.
Everybody else is in charge, right? And there's a check mark going all over.
Yeah. Check.
Check.
Yeah.
Check. So comedy obviously is very subjective. I read over these notes that you took.
Yeah, thank you for everybody on
for
Facebook.
everybody that gave us these.
Yeah.
And pretty much the running opinion is timing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Timing and delivery.
And relationship and cohesiveness between them. You got timing is not just one person. Well, a lot of times it is, but the best timing, the best comedy on stage is when or two people or more are doing something and somebody tells that funny line. But you know, how many times have we, when you go through the rehearsal process, you tend to forget that something is funny.
Yeah.
Because you're doing it over and over again and over again. So how many times have we said, make sure you leave a little room for just in case there's a laugh. So many people will, if they're not really up on their comedy, somebody else will deliver a funny line, and then the next person will go right to the next line.
Do you think there are funny people and non-funny people? Do you think there are some people who just don't do comedy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Same
I mean, in
reason.
life there are funny people. I mean, I've got a brother who's hilarious. I've got another brother who not so much.
Yeah.
But does he think he is?
My brother who's hilarious?
Who's not hilarious?
No, not really. No, we all know who the funny one is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brothers were all funny, but all in their own ways. But it was all about what we were brought up in. My father played records all the time. What about your house? Because you're obviously a funny person. Did you have comedy in your house all the time?
No, I was the family clown.
Yeah.
Like I was the kid that would dance around to make people laugh to break up a difficult situation.
Break the
or something.
tension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was the little funny one. Like on all the home movies, I'm the one, you know, marching around doing the you know.
Oh, that's surprising.
Yeah, surprising, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And yet, interestingly, growing up, I was tortured with farts. Like, my brother and my father were the gassiest people ever,
Well, maybe
right?
that's why you rebel.
And seriously, my brother would sit on my head
Oh, one of those.
and fart, and my dad was always like in public, you know, and it just made me so angry all the time. And
this
yet
is why
now,
Here you are.
This is your way of getting back and all that.
true, but you won't catch me like,
No.
No.
you know,
but you
that's
turned it
not
into
something
yeah.
but I grew up being tortured with
Yeah,
that, like
yeah.
tortured with that, you know, you know, so that was the thing.
Now, in my case, and I'm sure Bruce will corroborate this, we all grew up with humor that was self-deprecating and that was satire. Never the, well, I mean, all the comics of the day, too.
Yeah.
They were all, it was never in-your-face comedy.
Well, I think also I was horribly bullied in school.
Yeah.
Horribly bullied in school. And I think that's a lot of where my sense of humor came from, because you just had to laugh.
Right.
You had to laugh it off.
That was your...
Because if I went home and complained about it, my dad would say, "Stop being such a girl. Just
Yeah.
put up with it."
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Put it, you know, whatever. So that was the
hardest thing for me was learning early on, especially I think in high school, that not everybody understood my humor. My humor was based a lot on the satirist Stan Freberg.
yeah.
My dad would play those records day in and day out. We tried those jokes in school or on the school bus, flat.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you? This is comedy gold. Why don't you understand that? It takes a while to accept that not everybody understands humor the same way.
No, it is subjective.
Yeah, and we've seen that in audiences when you're working, especially if you're in the booth every night or on stage every night for a show. The audiences every night are different, and you will have a show, especially when it's other actors that are in the house, laughing hysterically over the show. When I did Urinetown up in Goshen, opening night at Goshen, it was filled with other actors. They got every single joke, every single reference, and they laughed. And then the next night, it was just normal people.
Yeah, and it gets you.
Yeah.
Traditionally, in the theater here, Saturday nights are raucous.
Yes.
I'm sorry, no, I'm
Friday
wrong.
nights.
Friday nights are raucous. Saturday nights quiet, and Sunday's raucous.
Yeah.
Because Saturday night, people have been out working in their yards all day. They're tired. They're just
Right,
coming in
right.
or they've just gone and had a big dinner
Yep.
with their friends, and they're a little bit tired or whatever. it never ceases to amaze me that we always worry about shows for Sundays because Sunday tends to be our oldest audience. And so I worry about, am I going over the line? Am I going over the line? Is it offensive?
Right.
Oh my goodness, the dirtier the better. Like seriously, like, oh
true.
my goodness.
True.
We have a group that comes to see us from the Prospect Senior Center regularly. And they always have the best time. And I never have to worry about offending them. They accept everything for what it is. It's a performance and it's humor and it's make-believe.
Yep.
They have the best time.
Yes.
And I love having them in the audience because they allow everyone else to laugh.
Because as we know, it's contagious.
It is.
If you have a couple of people in the audience that are laughing, it tends to spread out. They tend to look at, anytime I went to Broadway with Jen or go to another show with Jen, she laughs as loudly as I do, and you always hear Jen when she's here for a show because if something's funny, she will laugh out loud.
Yeah.
There's something about the dark lights that make you want, maybe I shouldn't laugh. I don't want to draw attention to myself. But if something is funny, you laugh, and that's the way Jen is. When she and I go to shows together, we almost inevitably have new people sitting or nobody sitting in front of us for the second act because we're laughing so loud.
They move.
People scatter.
Yeah.
But some audiences do need permission to laugh, so they're waiting for someone else to laugh out loud before they do.
Yeah.
You know, and how many times have you as a director or me as a director or go downstairs to tell the cast at intermission? They're chucklers.
Yeah.
They're chucklers.
They're
They're chucklers. They're
And what do we say?
smiling.
They're smiling.
They're
Yeah,
smiling.
and
They're
you
smiling.
can
They're
see
smiling
that.
to try and keep people up because not all audiences are guffaws or laugh out loud, and that does affect the cast on stage in terms of
And
comedy.
sometimes shows are like that too.
Yeah.
They're not knock your socks off, gotta laugh out loud kind of. They're thinking comedies.
Right. And then there's other times when an actor just has a bad day.
Yeah.
You have an off day. And so your timing is off. And how many times have we all left the stage and I didn't feel it tonight. I didn't feel it. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I didn't, and then there's those things that happen. Like in The Butler Did It, my character was supposed to walk on stage and say, fog. Oh, how I hate fog. And for whatever reason, I walked out on stage and went, fag. And everyone on stage turned and looked at me like, why didn't you just yell fag on stage? And it was just not long ago, Tori just blurted out fag like at me and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. So it's just one of those things. It happens on stage, and
I will never. One of my first experiences with seeing a show, something go wrong, a Carol Burnett moment on a show was when Seven Angels just began and they did their first production of Nonsense. We were house managers, and I think it was the night we were actually in the audience. And Sister Amnesia, during the cooking with the BVM segment, she comes out with these two pieces of wood and slaps them together, and it becomes the book stand for the recipe book. And for whatever reason, and it's really fast, boom, boom, slap the piece of wood, it's on. The wood wouldn't stay. It wouldn't hold together. The joke was about she took two pieces of wood, slapped them together, boom.
Cross and
And no matter what she did, she kept banging it, and the other actors turned up stage, and you could see their shoulders going. And we have had moments on that stage. We've had people, like you said in the Christmas show, you have moments when something is just unrehearsed, it just sort of happens, something goes wrong. I think everybody out there that's done a comedy knows what I'm talking about, where you just have moments.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the best. You can't predict them. You can't.
Well, but there's in every Christmas story ever told, there's a moment when Rob comes out as Mr. Potter.
Yes.
No matter how hard I prepare, I am biting the inside of my cheek because I can't look at him, and I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
And he's sitting in that chair with that look on his face, and I just lose.
Yeah.
I can't, and I mentally prepare myself.
Yeah.
Like I try. I look at the ground. I look above his head. I'm biting. I'm doing whatever I can, and it's not like he's trying to crack me up. He's doing his character.
He's doing it.
It's like watching Tim Conway and Harvey Korman. They're just too funny because they just break each other up.
And really, and that's all, in cases like that, that's all Tim Conway's purpose is to break up Harvey.
And I would die a happy man if I could ever crack Rob up on stage.
Oh.
That would be a goal for me, to crack Rob up during the Christmas show. I would love that, and I don't think that has ever happened because he is such a professional, and he can keep it together. And that is a goal. I would love to do that.
I have a memory, and I honestly can't remember what show it was, but something happened on stage, and it was the Louis Fan show. What was that?
The Butler did it.
Butler did it. Something happened on stage, and he and I looked at each other, and a little smile started to come on his face. But he's the ultimate professional.
Yeah.
Can't get him to crack nothing.
Now you get a goal.
It is a goal.
It's always a goal. It always is.
But comedy is what we love doing. And
If
you look at the list of shows, comedy is what makes it for us.
It is. It's what we do. And that's why it used to bother me. There was one season when we did a lot of shows about murder, but they were comedies about murder.
Right.
And so it used to bother me when people would go, "Oh, you're that theater that you do murder shows. You do all the murder mysteries." No, we do more than that. It just happens that this season we had a lot of shows with murder in the title.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have another joke for you.
For me or for him?
For both of you.
Oh, for both of them.
Oh, good. I'm off the hook.
What's green and fuzzy and would hurt you if it fell out of a tree?
What?
A pool table.
Yeah.
Come on, that's
like
funny.
The jokes, like the elephant jokes.
That's funny.
Yeah, you're right. It's like an elephant joke.
Yeah.
That might be the best one tonight.
Oh.
But anyway.
Come on, that was great.
All right.
Yes.
So we have some things to talk about.
Yes, we do. We have a lot of upcoming things to talk about.
We do. So we're doing a special fundraiser for Phoenix
Sorry
Stage
about
Company.
that. My phone isn't dinging.
It's okay. It's somebody watching the show.
Okay.
We have a special fundraiser coming up,
It's a text from the future.
and it's really kind of fun. We're doing audience cutouts.
I can't wait.
This is great, right? Our friends at Sierra Ridge Media Arts, Deb and Jeff Cryan, it was Deb's idea. She said, "I don't know why I didn't think about it sooner." So for $10, you can have a cutout in our audience. Just like you see on all the sports things.
I was going to say,
right?
if you watched any baseball or any hockey or anything like that, you see them all over the stadiums.
Nancy, our friend Nancy Dodge, is making a donation, but she wants a picture of Governor Lamont in her place.
Oh, really?
I said, I guess
you can do that.
I guess you can do that, and I know some people are getting them for their cats and their dogs. So $10, you make the donation at phoenix-stage-company.square.site.
Yep.
And then I'll see the donation there.
Yeah.
You will email me to ed@phoenixstagecompany.org. It's
Yeah.
right up on the screen behind us.
Yeah.
Ed@phoenixstagecompany.org. You email me a picture from the waist up. A picture.
Now-
and then I'll be sending those off. At the beginning.
As an example,
Yes.
let's put up that picture now of Stephen Walter.
So behind me, there's a picture. Stephen Walters is going to have this picture
This is my family.
as his cutout. So he'll be in a seat. And then, so at the beginning of our podcast and our virtual events, we will pan the audience
Yep.
so you can see yourselves in the audience. We will be drawing seat numbers from Glass Jar for prizes. If you have a
Whoa.
cutout, you can win a prize during the virtual events.
Yeah.
And then once we open the theater again, we're going to use those cutouts to block seats that people can't sit in.
Ned Lamont's
So
going to be so surprised.
there will always be people in our audience all the time. So this is really easy. $10.
Now,
$10 a cutout.
we do have an exception. Al's going to get one.
Yes.
But Al wants his up there in the booth.
He does. Al wants his in the booth.
With a waving hand.
Yes. So now I sent out an email today. I started sending emails out. If you got an email this week about that, the link on there for the donation was the wrong link. It's not www.phoenixstage. It's https://phoenix-stage-company.square.site.
Right there.
So you make your donation, send me a picture, and we're going to get you a cutout
And
in
again,
the audience.
if you don't want a picture of yourself, you could do your cat.
You could do your cat, you could do your
Dog.
dog. Now, just understand this. When you send the picture in and you make that donation, it is understood that you're giving us permission to use your image on social media.
Right.
Because we're gonna pan the audience at the beginning of our shows. We won't take your picture and use it in advertising and that kind of stuff, but you're gonna be on our YouTube channel when we do the pan of the audience.
Once we have
This is
this
gonna keep
thing,
Debbie busy.
once we have all these up there, we should put like one live person in there. See if they'd be like Waldo.
Where's Waldo?
Where's
Yeah.
the live person? Just-
Yeah, so this is great. This is a really fun one. Now the
Great.
deadline,
Yeah.
there is a deadline, and that is March 15th. The
Oh,
Ides of March.
Get your donations in.
So
now.
you have to get your donations in and get me your pictures before March 15th.
And you can do more than one.
Yeah, you can. You can do as many as you'd like.
Yeah.
As many as you like. Great fun. I think this is going to be really, really fun.
And can we also, if we have them, do we have the old headshots from other shows?
We do, but they're not waist up.
Oh, okay.
They're just this big.
But we might have like a character shot.
We do. John
could-
Poulin.
yeah.
John Poulin asked me to use one of his from the golf tournament.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Oh,
so
dear.
John's
Yeah.
will be up there. Yeah.
And they could they supply the picture.
They
of-
supply
if-
the picture unless I have one.
Yeah.
If they say there's a
If they
picture of
want.
me in this show
Right, yeah.
or whatever, then we can certainly use that.
Just
you know,
use
I
your
have Deb Goodman and Dan Willey. I have them from
Oh, yes,
Baskerville. I have the
Baskerville.
picture of them side by side.
Oh,
we
they
could
should-
use those pictures.
Yeah.
We could do whatever. So you get to choose what photo you want, and your cat, your dog, your hedgehog, whatever.
Who has a hedgehog?
Whatever you want. I don't know who has a hedgehog.
Anybody have a hedgehog?
So if you have a hedgehog, you can send us a picture of your hedgehog.
Yeah, good to know.
So that's a really fun little thing that
It
we're
is.
doing.
It is.
It's called the Cutout Fundraiser. So yeah,
We're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I want to see this place filled.
so great.
Yeah.
Sold out.
I'm looking forward to it.
Great if we had standing room only for those.
Right? Oh, and then you get a
guys
full
standing on
body.
the floor.
Yeah,
Get a
you
full
get
body.
for that. Yeah, that could be
If
really
I'm getting a
fun.
full body cut. I want like 30 pounds taken off mine.
Ah,
Just saying.
And then coming up April 20th and 21st is Give Local 2021.
yay.
Yep.
We talked about it last podcast that this is probably the most important
Yeah,
Give Local of our entire time here.
because it's been a long year.
It's been a long year,
Yeah.
and it's okay. We're still here.
Yep.
You know, we're plugging along. We're not going to keep harping on the fact that we're broke, but we're broke.
cold.
And well, the cold has nothing to do with it. Just because the furnace clicked off, it did its
Still
thing.
cold.
It's weird.
We did pay the bill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It just. Well, I was thinking back when I came in. This happens like once a year, where
It
the
does.
furnace turns itself off and these little red lights are blinking. I just have to go down and reset it.
Yeah.
And I, reset it in that weird furnace room. Reset it and wait for it to go woof. And it went woof, and then you come up here and stand by the
When
radio.
you were in Naugatuck, you had problems occasionally with building issues with winter.
Well, they didn't want to fix anything.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that was part of it too.
And that was a flat roof building
Yeah.
that always had issues, and then the pipes froze, and the pipes were under the parking lot.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
were having to pump hot water through.
So it's nothing unusual. This is winter in New England.
It is nothing. It's nothing unusual.
So we're still going to come up. We're going to come up with some ideas. We're working on ideas for what Give Local is going to be.
So
what
Give
we're gonna
Local,
do. Yeah. It'll
Give
be
Local,
different. It'll be different.
2021.
Yeah.
I contacted Brett Hersey to use one of his 1X, so maybe I can get him to let us use Kung Foolery too, and we can put that up to show you what that looks, what
That
that
would
was
be
all
fun.
about
That
during
would be
Give
fun.
Local.
Right.
So keep your keep your eye on your email and on your snail mail for some information about Give Local 2021.
It'll be here before you know it.
Yeah.
Because we're almost at the end of February.
Like, where is time going?
I'm all for that though.
I just feel like it.
Between
It's just
winter
a
and the
year.
COVID, I just want to get rid of it all. And
The COVID. You keep saying the COVID.
It is
It's like
the
an old man.
COVID.
It's the COVID. The COVID's gonna get
Chris,
you.
you're with the
The COVID.
I'm going to write a play called The COVID.
Okay.
But
so
it's not going to have anything to do with this.
so Again, I'll mention. You know, we have a strong focus on new work. We try to do one new play a year. We have our one acts and stuff. Oh my goodness! Every play that I've received over the last 6 months, every single one, is about quarantine. Is about pandemics, racism. I cannot tell you the number of plays that I've gotten with the title Together Alone or Alone Together. Everybody wants to write plays, and I gotta tell you, nobody's gonna want to see that when they come back off this stuff. And none of them are comedies. Like, it'd be one thing if it was like some kind of a weird comedy or a murder mystery. Now, a murder mystery about a guy that's been locked in his apartment on quarantine, dead alone. Or something like that. That would be like, I think I'm gonna. That's like, try to figure that mystery out. You know, that would be the weird thing, right?
All right, here's the one that you should write.
Yeah.
Quarantine's over, but they forgot to tell one person. How long?
Oh, you know, that would be kind of funny if the family just didn't tell somebody because they didn't want to
deal
with
them to come out.
See, now that could be funny, but honestly, I don't know that anybody is really going to want to sit in a theater and watch a show like that right now.
5 years from now, that might be fun.
Or a couple of years. Give it some time. Let people get over it themselves.
Because eventually we're going to reach that point where it's like, oh, you remember that? Oh, and nobody will.
Remember those days?
Remember those days when that used to happen?
Hey, I got one. Maskerville.
Maskerville. Oh, Al. See, now that wasn't funny.
No.
It was. It was too.
Maskerville. I like it.
Okay, she likes it, so,
right, so
maybe we'll come up with something for Maskerville. A masquerade party takes on a whole new meaning, right?
Mask face, we talked about that.
Yeah, we did. We talked about mask face.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah. So listen, we need to thank our sponsors, Tim.
Yes, we do. We'll start with our good friends, Black Hog Brewing Company in Oxford, Connecticut.
Thank you, Black Hog.
They just sent me an email the other day.
That's right. They're opening today. The Thursday, the 25th.
Yes. And but you have to buy food when you're there.
Yes.
That is the loophole that they have.
We talked about possibly going there on Thursday. So
right.
We should think about
so
that.
They can serve beer inside if they serve food too.
Yeah.
And they
There's
have their own
peanut butter and
pizzas.
jelly.
And they have pizzas.
They have pizzas. They have all kinds of those things. So you can go, but by all means, go down and support them. They've been so supportive of us.
Yeah, we
they
love
have
Black
really
Hog.
good beer.
Yeah.
And they're just wonderful people.
Yeah, they are. They're great people. And also Sierra Ridge Media Arts, Deb and Jeff Cryan, Naugatuck, Connecticut. Thank you, Sierra Ridge, for everything you're doing. The cutouts, what a great idea.
Be busy.
Like, we're so excited about this idea. So get those donations and those photos in.
We're going to get
by March 15th.
We're going to get a picture of Nova.
You know what? It'd be awesome.
I'd
give it to them for free. Send a picture of Nova.
Yeah, we'll do Nova.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So again, you go to https:// phoenix-stage-company.square.site. That's the link up there. And you make your donation, and then you email a photo, waist up, whatever one you want for your cutout, to me, ed@phoenixstagecompany.org. Okay?
Good thing
right
you
up
know
there.
how to do that.
Yeah, so
2 parts.
Yeah, so thank you, Deb Cryan, Sierra Ridge Media Arts, for coming up with the idea and for offering to do the work. And I think it's just going to be awesome.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Al, thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Talking about comedy. While you're here, do you have any message for the volunteers or the actors or anything?
Oh, I
Anything you
miss
want
my
to say?
volunteers so much.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get back in.
Yeah, it's really
making me
rough.
cry.
It's really rough, right? Like, it's really rough. We cannot wait to get back and do a show.
This is a building that needs people.
Yeah.
And we miss our people. We miss our actors. We miss our volunteers. We miss our audience.
Next week, I'm going to start working on the set for Kill Me Deadly.
What?
Yeah, so we're going to start working on the set back here.
Okay.
So that we can start getting our ideas for how we're going to do the show. Because the show is going to be mixed media this time.
Oh, that's right.
We're going to be using
Yep.
video
Right.
and live performance, and
Yep.
it's going to be great fun. You are a little
I
teary-eyed
am.
talking
I'm
about
volunteers.
your. Yeah, it's really awful, isn't it? It's really
Yeah.
hard. We can't wait to see everyone.
Our popcorn
Can't wait to
machine
hug
is
people
lonely.
and
My
do all of
popcorn
that stuff.
ambassadors,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's gonna be
It'll be great.
Rob.
It'll be.
And a big thank you to our photo of Michael for being here today.
Ever present.
Ever present, ever looking at us. He looks a little cheeky there, you know. That's his headshot from.
He finally got a haircut. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he looks. Yeah, he finally got.
Different
He doesn't
person.
look like a Neanderthal anymore.
Up there, that?
No.
No, not
On Facebook.
No, on Facebook.
Oh, I'm not on Facebook, so I don't. I don't really
Yeah.
watch this.
Yeah,
He looks-
before and after.
He looks regularly human now.
So, and Tim, thanks for coming down today in the Arctic weather and doing this.
Layers, three layers there. So.
Yeah, and thank you for tuning in and watching another episode of Take Flight Live with Phoenix Stage Company. Until next time, see ya. Say goodbye, Tim.
Goodbye, Tim.
Meow meow, Deb.
Meow meow.